Hello everyone, this is Preeti. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, I made videos on programming languages, data science, artificial intelligence. If you are into this type of content, then please consider subscribing. In this video, I'm going to talk about Pandas. Well, Pandas package is the most important tool at the disposal of data scientists and analysts working in Python today. Well, the powerful machine learning and the glamorous visualization tools may get all the attention, but never forget that Pandas is the backbone of most data projects. Well, if you are thinking about making a career in data science, then this is really important. Then one of the first things you should do is learn Pandas. In this video, I will tell you the essential bits of information about Pandas, how to use it, how it works with data sets, how you can analyze and explore your data set. So let's begin with Pandas. Well, this video is for those who are just beginners. They don't know anything about Pandas. They can start learning Pandas here and go to an intermediate level. As well as for those who have specific Pandas experience, Python Pandas experience, they have a little bit of knowledge, but they try to figure it out how they can use Pandas specifically. So the agenda for today's videos is we will see what Pandas is, when we can use Pandas, and what we can do with Pandas. Along with this, I will give you a real world example. In this case, we will use Pandas to analyze the Covid-19 dataset. So while analyzing this Covid-19 dataset, we will learn about the key Pandas concept, such as how we can read the dataset, some basic operations about dataset, how we can summarize our dataset, how we can use indexing and slicing here, how we can aggregate our functions, and how we can perform EDA, which is really very important while performing machine learning, and some other important concepts related to Pandas. And at the end, I'll give you a demo assignment along with the solution. So let's jump into the actual stuff without wasting our time. Okay, just as a quick note, for this video I'm going to use Jupyter Notebook. You can use anything, Google Colab or Kaggle kernel. So you can use anything, but definitely the results should essentially be the same. Pandas is derived from the term panel data, which according to Wikipedia means the data sets that include observations over multiple time periods for the same individuals. So Pandas stand for Python Data Analysis Library. It is an open source package that provides high performance, and it is really easy to use for data structures, data analysis. So when to use it? Pandas has so many uses that it might make sense to list the things it can't do instead of what it can do. This tool is essentially your data's home. Through Pandas, you can just clean your data, transform your data, analyze it. It is a perfect tool for data wrangling or munging. It is designed for the quick and easy data manipulation. You can easily read your data, aggregate your data, visualize it. So I could say that it is definitely your this tool is essentially your data's home. So what you can do with Pandas? Well, you can do a lot of things with Pandas. You can calculate the statistics, and you can answer your questions about the data, like what is the mean, what is the median, or which is the maximum value in this column. You can correlate your columns. Fine. So you can clean your data by doing things like removing missing values. You can filter your rows. You can even visualize the data with the help of matplotlib. So I'm not going to cover that portion actually in this video. So I'll cover up those in future. So you can store the cleaned and transformed data back into CSV or in any other format you want. So in this video, we will analyze COVID-19 dataset with end-to-end example for each and every topic, and we'll learn about all those things. So at the end, you will see a demo assignment along with the solution. I bet you that after watching this video, you can check your assumptions about your data, whether your results are reasonable. You can check out for the sample sizes, whether they are small or not, and you can see the impact of missing data on your data set. So let's get started with this. And as usual, you will get everything in the description below. I will upload this notebook in my GitHub repo, and I will paste the link in the description below along with the dataset. Well, to begin with, you need to install Pandas. For this, you have to use pip install Pandas. So it is just very simple to install Pandas. After that, I'm importing this libraries, import Pandas as PD and NumPy as NP. So I'm using PD and NP as it is a common convention. You can use anything you want. So the very first step I will do is I'll read the data. So here the data is stored in CSV format, even called as comma separated values, where each row is separated by a new line and each column is separated by a comma. So I'm just running this cell. So I just want to have a look at my data set, how it looks like. You can see the data set. Here is a date column, name of the state, then total confirmed cases. Here I'm using COVID-19 data set. So this is how we can read the data set. Now here you can see that it gives you index values such as 0, 1, 2. It gives you this index values by default. Now if you don't want this index values, then you can set index columns is equals to 0. So let's do this. So here what I am doing, I am just providing index column is equals to 0, and this will give me the data set without any index value. You can see that. You can even set this index value according to your wish, because here it has set date as an index value, but I can set this name of the state or union territory. Fine. So this is our first task. So let's just set the name of the state column as an index of the dataset. So here what I'm doing, I'm just using set underscore index. So if you want to change the index of your dataset, you have to use set underscore index, and if you want to reset, means if you want the initial one as it is, then you have to use reset underscore index. And to make this changes permanent, you have to set in place is equals to true. If you doesn't write in place is equals to true, so by default it is false, so it will not make these changes permanent, it will be temporary. So to make this changes permanent, I have to use in place is equals to true. So here you can see that it has set the name of the state and union territory as your index column. Now what if I want my original index column again, not this one? So what you can do, you can just do reset index. Fine. So I have used this function reset underscore index. So you can see here. Now okay, so this is about set reset indexes, but here I just want the original one again. So after that, reading data, the first important thing is to visualize your data. You can visualize your data either from the top or from the bottom. For getting your data from the top, if you want the first 5 rows, fine. So you can do this, you can use this head function. And you can, by default it gives you 5 values, but let's say if I want to get 8 values, so I can give the value here. Fine. So here you can see that it will give you 8 values starting from 0 to 7. So head function will give you the first initial few rows, and the tail function will give you the last rows. By default tail will give you 5, but if you want any specific number, you can mention here that. So this is basically it returns you a data frame. Well, the primary two components of Pandas are series and data frame. In simple words, in layman words, series is just a column. Okay, you can say a single row or a single column, but data frame is a multi-dimensional table made up of collection of series. Fine. So if you consider only this rows, fine, simple, single, then it will be series. But here there is a collection of multiple rows. Fine. So it is a data frame. There is a collection of series. Data frame and series are quite similar in many operations that you can do with one, you can do with the other, such as filling null values or calculating the means. Okay. But the main difference in layman terms, I have already told you, series is, in simple words, is just a column, and data frame is a multi-dimensional table. It is made up of, you can say that, collection of series. So Now let's start with some basic operations in Pandas. If you want to get the total number of elements, then you can use this size attribute. And remember one thing guys, this is not a function. This is an attribute. So I am not using this braces here. Fine. Because it is an attribute. Now if you want to get the dimensions means if you want to get the total number of rows and columns, you can use shape function, shape attribute. Now this is our second task, how many number of rows and columns are present in our dataset. So we are using COVID-19 dataset, and this is not for only for COVID-19, for any dataset. If you want to know the number of rows and columns, you can use this data.shape. And for shape attribute, I know that this is for number of rows. How many number of rows I have? 919, and number of columns I have in my dataset is 9. So this is actually a tuple. It returns you a tuple, and this is a 0 index and this is for 1 index. So at 0 index it is representing my rows, and at 1 index it is representing my columns. So this is all about this. So when I run this, it will give me the number of rows and the column. If you want to know about the memory usage of each and every column, you can do that with the help of function memory_usage. So it will return you each and every column with the memory usage. If you want a brief summary about the data frame, you can use info function for this. So here you can see that it has 919 entries, means 919 rows. Fine, from 0, ranging from 0 to 918, and the type is data frame. For checking the type, you can also use dtype or type function, but info function will provide you all the information. There are total 9 columns, and it will provide you the type of each and every column and whether there are any null values or not. You can see that all the values are non-null, so there is no missing value, there is no null value. Fine. So there are 3 types of data types here. Float, there are 2 columns, 2 features are float and 5 features are integers, 2 features are objects, and total memory it is using is 64.7 KB. So if you I have already told you that by default when we visualize the dataset, it gives you 5 rows. Okay, so but if you want to set it, it will give you columns. If there are multiple columns, million of columns, or there are million of rows, it will not going to display each and every column. But you can set it if you want. Let's say I want 12 columns by default. I just want 12 columns to be displayed. So you can use this set underscore option for this. I know that there are just 9 columns here, so it will display all the columns definitely, because this is less. But if you have let's say hundreds of features, hundreds of columns, then you can use this option, set underscore option. So what next? Let's say I just want to check how many unique values are there in the name of state or union territory column. So I can do that with the help of value underscore counts feature. So for this value underscore count basically returns you the unique category count for all the categorical values. We know that it has an object type, categorical values. For all categorical values, it will give you the count. Fine. So what next? Let's say I want to get all the column names. So here are the column names. Find all the column names and the type. Type, we know that it's an object. Let's say if you want to get the row, how many rows are there? You can see it's starting from 0 and then 918. Basically 919 is total, and there is 1 step size. So if you want to check the data type of each column, you can use the attribute dtypes. Fine. So here is the data type. You can also see this in info method as well. So if you want to select the data based on the data type, you can do that as well. Now let's say that I want to select only integer and float data types. I don't want to include object data type. I don't want to include categorical data type. And this is really an important task while performing machine learning operations when you have to categorize your data set. So for this you can use this inbuilt function select underscore d types. So here you can also include the data types you want. Let's say you can write here int and float. You can also exclude the data type that you don't want. So here I just don't want this object data type. I only want integers and floats. So I am just excluding this object. Fine. So now here you can see that I have only 7 columns. In total we have 9 columns, and 2 were actually object columns, categorical columns. So it has given us only 7 columns that include only integers and floats. Now what if I only want object data types, object features? Fine. So here you can select that by choosing data.dtypes is equals to object. And remember one thing, it will only return you the boolean values. So it will return you these boolean values, either true or false. We know that date is an object column, name of the state is an object, rest are just integers and floats. So to get their actual values, you have to use this data.dtype inside this data.dtypes. Fine. And their index value. So here are those object columns, or I could say that this categorical features. Fine. So next, what you can also convert one variable data type into another. So we know that there are different type of data types here. There are integers, objects, floats. Let's say here let's take this death column, and I know that this is an integer data type. So if I want it to convert into categorical, I can use this as type function. There is an inbuilt function as type, and you have to mention here in which data type you want to convert it. So here what I am doing, I am just taking this death feature and converting it into object, and again saving it into this same column name. So let's just run this, and if I check this data type here, now it's an object. O is for object. Now there comes another important operation here is indexing and slicing. How we can assess a particular row or column or any row, specific range of columns and rows. How we can do that? There are particularly two methods for assessing rows, log and ilog. Let's just first see how we can assess a single column or multiple columns. For assessing a single column, you have to just mention the data frame name here. Here we have mentioned it data, and within square brackets you have to mention the column name for single column. If you want to assess multiple columns, then there should be a double square brackets. So when we do this, we are getting this. Fine. So this is actually series. So what we were saying, the difference between series and data frame. So here it is a series. If we want to check the type, if you want to check the type, you can use dtype or type function for this. So you will get a series here. So if I want to assess a multiple columns, let's say these 2 or 3 columns I want to assess, then I have to use double square brackets for this. So this is a data frame collection of series. So this is how we can assess single or multiple columns. Now if you want to assess single row or multiple row, so we can use log or ilog method. Log basically means label based and ilog basically means index based. So let's see what is the difference between both this ilog and log. So ilog will basically give you returns you the value according to the index by default. Well, the ilog method allows us to retrieve the rows and columns by position. Fine. In order to do that, we will need to know the specific position of the rows that we want, or I could say that the position of the columns that we want. Fine. So we can say that iloc locates by the numerical index. Fine. Even if there is no numerical index, even if we set a death column as a numeric as an index, so it will consider the numerical index by default. Fine. So by default it starts from 0, then 0, 1, 2 goes on. So loc method basically locates by the name. Fine. So here I just want to assess multiple rows. So what I am doing, I am just passing these values inside double square and I am using iloc method. Fine. So I got these two rows. There is a first row and the second row for all the cases. So next, how we can use loc method. For loc method you can assess it with the help of names. So here what I am doing, I just want to assess all the rows. For all the rows I am just using this column, and for column I just want only this column, only this feature, total confirmed cases. So here it is for all the rows. Fine. For 0th row, first row, second row, for all the rows I have got the total confirmed cases. Fine. So similarly what I can do, I can even assess a particular group of rows and columns. Let's say I want to get total confirmed cases and cured patients from only from first, second, fourth and sixth row. Fine. Only from these rows. So I have to pass these values inside the squares. Fine. So these are all the values for first, second, fourth and sixth row. So similarly you can, even if you want the values for all columns, you can write here column here, and for particular rows you can mention your rows inside the square brackets. Fine. So next comes sorting our data. So there comes a question. Let's say I want to sort the entire data with respect to death column in ascending order. For this you can use sort underscore values function. Fine. So here you can mention according to which column you want to sort your data, and it works on string as well. It can sort the data alphabetically if you are using it for categorical column. Fine. So we know that that basically is a numerical column, but I am telling you that you can even sort it for date, or you can sort it for your state column as well. So we are just sorting this, but remember one thing, this sorting will not be actually permanent. For making it permanent you have to write in place is equals to true. By default it is false. So here what I am doing, I am just sorting the death column, death feature values here. So you can see that, oh sorry, so you can see that it has sorted all the values. Initially 0, then all are not visible, but it has sorted in the ascending order. But if, let's say, if you want to make it in descending order, then you have to mention here ascending is equals to false, because by default it is true. So let's say I want to sort values for multiple columns, for latitude as well as for longitude. But for latitude I want it to be in ascending order, but for longitude I want it to be in descending order. So you can do this. Now let's come to another important operation that we can perform with pandas, that is filtering. So here is a task. Let's say I want to remove all the records where number of deaths are greater than 5 and total number of confirmed cases are greater than 100. Well, there are number of ways to perform filtering, but here in this case I am going to use data frame filtering. What I am doing here, I am just filtering the data after subsetting and storing it in a new data frame with a name filter. Fine. So this symbol and symbol is here is a condition, which means both these conditions should meet the criteria. Means this data in this death column should be greater than 5, and for total confirmed cases should be greater than 100. If both the conditions are true, then only it should return true. If one condition is false, it will return false. So to filter the records that satisfies both this condition, you can operate this for a single condition as well. So for those cases where number of death cases is greater than 5 and total confirmed cases is greater than 100, it will give you the value. Fine. So you can see here that for death cases all the cases are greater than 5, and for total confirmed cases all the cases have a number greater than 100. Now let's talk about group by and aggregate function here. Pandas group by is a powerful and versatile function in Python. It allows you to split your data into separate groups to perform computations for better analysis. So let's take a question, let's take a task for understanding it in a better way. So let's say I want to know the maximum number of total confirmed cases in each state. So for this function you can use a group by function. So I just want to group by the state, each state with the total confirmed cases, and I want to know about the maximum number. So simply here you have to use this group by, fine, for this name of the state column, and you can aggregate it with total confirmed cases, and you can use maximum function because you want to know the maximum number of total confirmed cases. So here you can see that for each and every state you will get the maximum number of total confirmed cases. For Andaman Nicobar it's 11, for Andhra Pradesh it's 427. Okay, so here if you can also find the sum or even mean, median, whatever you want, you can aggregate that in that way. So here what I am doing, I am just getting I just want the sum of total confirmed cases in each state, so I'll get the total number of confirmed cases in each state, their sum. Fine. So in simple way, in more easy way, you can do this in this way also. Fine. Use group by function and aggregate both together. Fine. Both will give you the same result. You can see here. Fine. So next, let's say I want to sort the total number of confirmed cases in each state in descending order. So here we are using two operations, sorting as well as what I am doing, I am just using group by because I want to get the total number of cases for each state. So we will do grouping and aggregating for state with total number of confirmed cases, and then I will sort all the values in descending order. So I will set ascending is equals to false. So both these questions will have a same answer. In which state you want to know that in which state or union territory the maximum number of cases were recovered. So what I am doing here, I am just using grouping and aggregating here. So I am just grouping name of the state with total confirmed cases and getting sum of all the cases. Then what I am doing, I am just sorting the values so that I can get the case with the highest number of values. And it is very important operation, we usually perform it in analyzing your data, while analyzing your data. So the maximum number of confirmed cases were recorded in Maharashtra, and how many numbers were there? 13,902. Fine. So now let's perform this grouping on multiple columns. Here we have performed grouping on single column and we get the results we want. Fine. So now let's perform this on multiple columns. What we are doing here, I just perform to aggregate this date column with all this death, total confirmed cases, cured, and name of the state, and I want to get the maximum number of cases according to the each date for all these columns. So I can do that. Fine. Now let's say I want to know that on which date the maximum number of total number of cases were reported from Maharashtra. So here what you can do, you can filter out your data and perform the group by operation here. So here I am just filtering my data. I have already told you about the basics of filtering. So it will definitely, if we perform only this portion, it will return you a boolean value. So that's why I'm using data square brackets within this, and I'm saving it with the name new data. Fine. So now I will perform group by with this new data group by, and I want to get the total number of confirmed cases with the maximum value on each date. So here you can see that maximum number of cases in Maharashtra on 13th April is 1985. On 12th of April it's 1761. So here in this way you can analyze your data in a better way and within just a single line of code. Now let's talk about exploratory data analysis with the help of pandas. EDA is used on the one hand to answer the questions, test the business assumptions, generate hypotheses for further analysis. On the other hand, you can also use it to prepare data for the modeling. Well, EDA can serve many purposes, but some that stand out are preparing your data for modeling, trying to find out some trends, answering some initial questions. So you can analyze your data in a better way. Fine. So here with the help of pandas you can do multiple things while performing EDA. You can check the correlation between numerical variables, between categorical variables. You can find out the missing values. You can get the description of data. You can even fill the missing values. You can visualize your data. You can even identify the patterns. For visualization you can use another plotting packages such as Seaborn, Matplotlib. So here let's just begin how we can find a correlation between two numerical or multiple numerical variables or multi-categorical variables. So for finding a correlation between two numerical variables, what we will do, we will use a correlation function here. There is an inbuilt function. Find correlation inbuilt function. For this we have to exclude the object data type. I have already told you how we can exclude or include any particular data type. So I have exclude this object data type, and let's just check the shape of our data. So these 6 columns include only the integers or the floats. So I just want to check the correlation between this numerical variables. So what I can do, I can just simply use this dataset and dataframe, and then I will use this correlation function. So you can see that how all these features are related with each other. Like this total confirmed cases in Indian national and foreign nationals, how these are correlated with each other. Similarly, we can find it for categorical variables. Fine. So here is the data type, and we know that for there are just 2 columns for categorical. One is date and another one is name of the state or union territory. So I am providing these categorical variables and I am setting this margins is true, normalize is true, and dropping all the null values. So after this you can see that there is a relation between all these categorical variables. Fine. So it's quite simple. You have to use this cross tabulation for this, and for numerical you can use correlation function. Now how we can handle missing values. So for checking missing values, if there is any missing value, you can just simply check it with the help of this is null function, is null or is none. Fine. So it will provide you the all the missing values, but in our dataset there is no missing value. You can find that there is no null value. But if there is any null value, you can simply either drop that null value or you can fill the null value. You can impute it either with mean, median, mode, or with any random sample imputation. So here if there is any null value, I'm just dropping it. You can use further how is equals to any to drop any null value, whether it is present in any column, any row. Fine. So you can also impute the missing value by using fill null is equals to missing, or any random sample imputation. There are multiple ways to impute the missing values. Now if you want to drop any unwanted column, let's say I don't want this latitude column, latitude feature in my data frame, so I can simply use drop a method to drop it. Now if I have a look at my data set, you can see that latitude feature is not present here. So you can simply drop any column or even the multiple columns if you want. Now let's come to the reading and writing data to the different sources. We have till now we have read the comma separated variables, simple CSV files. So in this case, in CSV files, it use delimiter as comma. I have already told you. But if you want to read TSV file or the files in tabular form, you have to mention separator is equals to /t. This is for tab. Fine. So here what I am doing, I am simply reading a TSV file. Fine. And I am providing index column is equals to name. I have already told you about this feature, index column. If it's 0 or if I don't mention anything here, then by default it will take 0, 1, 2, 5. So here we can read it using CSV, but we can also read it using TSV file. So I can also read it using table. Fine. So here I am reading this file, TSV file. Fine. So don't worry guys, you will get this data in my GitHub. You will find everything in the description below. Fine. So here if you want to read it using CSV, then you have to mention separator is equals to tab. Fine. So here is my data. Now if you want to read this similar data in the with the help of CSV, you can do that as well. You have to mention separator is equals to tab. Now let's say if you want to read Excel, you can use this function read underscore Excel. You can even mention particular your sheet name if you want to read a particular sheet. Now you can also export, you can also save your files, and if you want to save your file into CSV format, here you have to mention the name of your data frame and the format in which you want to save it. So you have to use to underscore the format in which you want to save it. Let's say it's to underscore CSV, and the name you want to provide it to save this file. Fine. So you can do that. Now it has been saved with a name new Titanic. Fine. In the CSV format. Let's say if I want to save this DF1, which is actually in tabular form, I want to save it in Excel form, I can do that. Now it has been saved in the Excel form, and let's just read this whether it has been saved or not. So what I am doing, I am just reading Excel file. Okay, this is the file I have just saved recently. So you can see that. Not only this, you can even import and save the files in JSON format, HDF, or even in pickle format, SQLite, in whatever format you want. You can save it or you can even import it. So if you want to get more details about this pandas, you can watch my playlist on pandas. I have mentioned each and everything in very detail there. So now let's move towards the demo assignment for pandas with solution. So here what I'm doing, I'm just importing NumPy and pandas, and here I have used Titanic dataset. So Titanic dataset is quite a popular dataset that we can use. So I just want to check how many men and women are represented in this dataset. For this, I can simply use value underscore counts. I have already told you value underscore counts gives you a unique count for even categorical values. Fine. So here 577 are the males and the females are 340. Fine. So what is the average age of women? So here I want to find the average age of women in this data set. For this, I am just filtering out that I just want sex to be a female, and I am using log method with age, and I am calculating the mean because I want the average value. Now next what I am doing, I just want to select those passengers whose embarked in Cherbourg is whose fare is greater than 200, means who paid more than 200 pounds for their tickets. So here what I'm doing, I'm just using filtering. So what I'm doing, first of all, I have selected embarked is equals to C and data of fare is greater than 200, and I'm using AND function, and will returns with true value if both the conditions are true. Fine. So these are those passengers who satisfies both the conditions. Fine. So similarly, what is our next task actually? What is the next question? Print the distribution of P class feature. I want to get the distribution of P class feature for men and women separately. Fine. So this is somewhat similar, not exactly similar, but somewhat similar question. Here I want to get the statistics of each for P class and each gender, means for male and female, and for P class there are basically 3 classes, 1, 2 and 3. So here what I am doing, I am just simply using group by function, fine, to grouping P class and sex, because I want it for both the P class and gender. Fine. So here what I am doing, I am using for loop, fine, for both P class and sex, and I am just want to get all the information, so I am using describe function. And here if I want to get the maximum age of man for class P1, so for class P1 for female, these are all the values, and I want to get the maximum age for class P1 male. So you can find it here. If you want to get the mean value, if you want the total number of counts, mean, standard, minimum, maximum is 80. Fine. So the age of men, maximum age of men for class P1 is 80. Fine. Similarly, you can analyze for females, means whatever question you want. I just want to show you guys an example how you can analyze the data, how you can use it in practical way. Next next question is, what is the proportion of C embarked feature? So it's quite simple actually. What I am doing, I am simply using this, and I just want to calculate the sum, but I want to check just proportion, so I am using shape 0. You know that it will return you with the row. Find row values. So what are the mean and standard deviation? Simply for whichever column you want. Here I want it for the fair column, so I am using data fair, and mean function for standard deviation you can use standard function. So these are the values. So next question is, how is the average age of man woman dependent on the P class? Now this is somewhat similar to the question we have discussed above. So for this it is almost similar actually. There what we were doing, we were using a describe function, but here we will use a mean function. So here you can see that for each class, for class P1, fine, the average value of female will be 34.61. Fine, for male it will be 41. For class P2 female average value will be 28. So these are all the values. So guys, if you have learned something, please like the video. If you have any query, any doubt, you can write down in the comment section. I will try to solve it out. And if you have learned something, please like the video and subscribe the channel. Stay tuned. Bye bye. Thank you so much. You will get everything in the description below.